December 25, 1991. Moscow. 7:32 p.m. Snow falls silently over the Kremlin. Thousands of people stand outside, watching in complete silence. Inside, a single man prepares to deliver a speech. Not to declare war, not to announce victory, but to pronounce the death of one of the most powerful nations in human history. His name is Mikhail Gorbachev. As cameras begin to roll, he calmly announces his resignation. Minutes later, a moment unfolds that no one thought they would ever witness. The red Soviet flag, which had flown above the Kremlin for nearly 70 years, slowly begins to descend. For the last time, as it reaches the bottom, another flag rises into the cold winter sky, the flag of Russia. And just like that, the Soviet Union, a superpower that had challenged the United States, built thousands of nuclear weapons, won the space race's first victories, and controlled nearly half of Europe, simply ceased to exist. No final battle, no foreign invasion, no dramatic surrender, just silence. But one question still echoes through history. How does a superpower disappear without losing a war? Was it destroyed by America? Did the Cold War defeat it? Or did the Soviet Union slowly destroy itself from within? Tonight, we uncover the incredible rise, the hidden cracks, and the shocking collapse of one of history's most feared empires. Every empire has a beginning. Some begin with a king, others with a revolution. The Soviet Union was born from chaos. At the beginning of the 20th century, Russia was ruled by the Romanov Tsars, a royal family that had ruled for more than 300 years. The empire stretched across 11 time zones, but beneath its enormous size, millions lived in poverty. Factories were overcrowded. Farmers struggled to survive. The gap between the rich and the poor was growing larger every year. Then, World War I arrived, and everything changed. The year was 1917. Petrograd, Russia. The streets were no longer filled with hope. They were filled with hunger. Bread had become a luxury. Factories had stopped working. Thousands of soldiers were returning from World War I, not with victory, but with defeat. The mighty Russian Empire was collapsing before everyone's eyes. And then, the people did something no one thought possible. They turned against their own Tsar. After more than 300 years of Romanov rule, Tsar Nicholas II was forced to abdicate. The empire had fallen. But what came next would change the 20th century forever. Among the chaos, one man saw an opportunity. His name was Vladimir Lenin. Unlike the old rulers, Lenin promised something completely different. No kings, no nobles, no rich elites. He promised land for the farmers, food for the hungry, peace for exhausted soldiers, and power to the workers, to millions. He looked like a savior. In October 1917, Lenin and the Bolsheviks seized control. Within days, the old government disappeared. A civil war followed, one so brutal that millions would never live to see its end. When the fighting finally stopped, a new country emerged. In 1922, the Union of Soviet Socialist Republics, the Soviet Union, was officially born. It was unlike any nation the world had ever seen. To millions around the world, the Soviet Union represented a new future. A nation without kings, without aristocrats. A country built on the promise of equality. But revolutions have a dangerous habit. The people who win them rarely agree on what comes next. And after Lenin's death, one man would take control. A man whose name would become one of the most feared in history. Joseph Stalin. January 1924. Moscow. The streets were silent. Thousands stood in endless lines, waiting for one last chance to see the man who had created the Soviet Union. Vladimir Lenin was dead. No one knew who would replace him. Several powerful leaders believed they were the natural successor. But while they argued, one man quietly moved every piece on the chessboard. His name was Joseph Stalin. He didn't command the biggest army. He wasn't the greatest speaker. But he understood something far more dangerous. Real power isn't won on the battlefield. It's won behind closed doors. One by one, his rivals disappeared. Some were exiled. Some were imprisoned. Others simply vanished. By the end of the 1920s, there was no longer a struggle for power. There was only Stalin. What followed was one of the fastest transformations in modern history. Factories appeared almost overnight. Massive steel plants, hydroelectric dams, railroads, and entire industrial cities rose from empty land. The Soviet Union was changing faster than the world had ever seen. Within a single decade, it had transformed from a poor agricultural country into one of the world's greatest industrial powers. To many outsiders, it looked like a miracle, but inside the Soviet Union, millions were paying a terrible price. Farmers were forced from their land. Food shortages spread across entire regions. Anyone who questioned the government risked disappearing forever. The country was becoming stronger, but its people were living in fear. By the late 1930s, no one dared challenge Stalin. His portrait hung in schools, factories, government buildings, almost everywhere. To millions, he was presented as the father of the nation. But then, a new enemy appeared, one unlike anything the Soviet Union had ever faced. A man whose ambitions threatened the entire world. Adolf Hitler. And soon, the Soviet Union would be dragged into the deadliest war in human history. June 22, 1941, 3:15 a.m. Without warning, the silence along the Soviet border was shattered. Thousands of German artillery guns opened fire at once. Moments later, more than 3 million Nazi soldiers poured across the border. It was the largest military invasion in human history. Operation Barbarossa had begun. For Stalin, the attack was unbelievable. He had signed a non-aggression pact with Hitler. He believed Germany would never invade. He was wrong. Within weeks, entire Soviet armies were destroyed. Hundreds of thousands surrendered. City after city fell into German hands. For a moment, it looked as if the Soviet Union itself would disappear forever. But then, something extraordinary happened. The Soviet people refused to surrender. Factories were dismantled, loaded onto trains, and rebuilt thousands of kilometers away. Men, women, even teenagers worked day and night, building tanks, weapons, and ammunition. Entire cities turned into fortresses. The price was unimaginable. More than 27 million Soviet citizens would lose their lives. Yet, against all odds, the Red Army pushed Hitler back. When Soviet soldiers finally entered Berlin in 1945, the world understood. A new superpower had arrived. The war was over, but peace never truly came. Instead, the world split into two camps. On one side, the United States. On the other, the Soviet Union. Neither wanted another world war, but both wanted to dominate the future. This invisible struggle would become known as the Cold War. It wasn't fought with massive invasions. It was fought with spies, nuclear weapons, propaganda, and fear. For almost 50 years, the entire world lived under the shadow of nuclear destruction. To the outside world, the Soviet Union looked stronger than ever. It tested powerful nuclear bombs. It launched Sputnik, the first satellite in space. Then, it shocked the world again by sending Yuri Gagarin, the first human, into space. It seemed the Soviet Union could do anything. But behind the celebrations, the same cracks were quietly growing. And this time, they would become impossible to hide. December 24th, 1979, Afghanistan. As darkness covered the mountains, thousands of Soviet soldiers crossed the border. The mission seemed simple: remove the Afghan government, install a friendly regime, return home within months. Moscow expected a quick victory. Instead, the Soviet Union walked into a nightmare. The mountains became battlefields. The enemy was everywhere and nowhere. Every road, every village, every valley could become an ambush. Weeks turned into months. Months turned into years. The war never ended. For almost 10 years, the Soviet Union poured billions of rubles and hundreds of thousands of soldiers into Afghanistan. Thousands never came home. The war drained the economy, destroyed morale, and shattered the image of an unstoppable superpower. For many Soviets, Afghanistan became what Vietnam had been for the United States, a war no one knew how to win. Then, on April 26, 1986, another disaster struck, not on a battlefield, but inside a nuclear power plant. Chernobyl. One explosion released radioactive material across Europe. At first, the Soviet government tried to hide the truth. People continued living, working, even celebrating, without knowing they were being exposed to deadly radiation. When the truth finally emerged, something inside the Soviet Union began to break. People stopped trusting their own government. Fear turned into anger, and anger turned into demands for change. In 1985, a new leader came to power, Mikhail Gorbachev. Unlike those before him, he believed the Soviet Union could still be saved. He introduced two bold reforms: glasnost, meaning more openness, and perestroika, meaning economic restructuring. He hoped these reforms would strengthen the Soviet Union. Instead, they exposed problems that had been hidden for decades. The people now demanded more freedom. The republics demanded independence. And suddenly, the system that had looked unbreakable began collapsing from the inside. November 9, 1989, Berlin, Germany. For almost 30 years, the Berlin Wall had divided a city, a nation, and the entire world. On one side, freedom. On the other, communism. For decades, the Soviet Union had guarded this wall as a symbol of its power. Then, something unbelievable happened. Thousands of people gathered, not with guns, not with tanks, but with hammers and their bare hands. Piece by piece, the Berlin Wall began to fall, and with every stone that hit the ground, the Soviet Union lost another piece of its empire. Within months, one Soviet-controlled country after another broke free. Poland, Hungary, Czechoslovakia, Romania, East Germany. The Iron Curtain had collapsed. For decades, fear had kept the Soviet Union together. Now, fear was disappearing. And once fear disappeared, so did control. Inside the Soviet Union itself, 15 republics demanded independence. The country was falling apart from the inside. Then, December 25, 1991, the moment finally arrived. Mikhail Gorbachev resigned as president. Minutes later, the red Soviet flag was lowered from the Kremlin. For the very last time. No explosions, no final battle, no foreign army marching through Moscow. Just silence. 70 years earlier, the Soviet Union had been born from a revolution. Now, it disappeared without firing a single shot. One of history's greatest superpowers was gone forever. The Soviet Union once terrified the world. It possessed the largest army, thousands of nuclear weapons, and dreams of shaping humanity's future. But in the end, it wasn't destroyed by a foreign invasion. It wasn't defeated by a single war. It slowly collapsed under the weight of economic failure, political mistakes, and a system that could no longer adapt. History teaches us that power alone can build an empire, but only wisdom can keep it alive. Because no matter how strong a nation appears, the greatest danger often comes from within. If you enjoyed this documentary, Subscribe to Empyrean Vault, because history's greatest stories are only just beginning.